I'll just click the button. You are live, it says.
Oh,
And
good.
it's Jay and I together on my channel. How have you been, Jay?
I think I don't know. I think you get to the point where it doesn't really matter how you are. You just still continue, don't you?
Well,
Like,
yes, I think sometimes I get into a state when it's like, don't even ask me how I am, because that might provoke an existential crisis. Because thinking of how I am, might be um, a little disturbing. But
yeah,
but we
well,
still carry on.
yeah, the whole the Western world today is about like internal narcissism or egotism. How am I? My feelings, my emotions, my aims, my goals, it's all very, very um, self orientated, and we led to believe, I think women more than men, that if we manage to handle and manage all of the, you know, internal ways of life, we will success. We will be a success, and it clearly isn't working. Um, I'm at the point where, like, I mean, I know you were being polite and friendly. How are you? And I would probably say the same to you. But do we really want to know? Do we really care? And
Well,
similarly,
this is Koraniyule, so
mm,
this stream is all about you, and whatever you want to talk about. And
mm,
well, the thing is, in a way, it doesn't matter, because if we feel bad, that will pass, and if we feel good, that will pass too.
yeah, yeah, that's
So,
what I mean. That's what I mean. Is it that relevant? How JBW feels like today and tomorrow, and is it worth me analyzing it and getting help or whatever, or God forbid, seeing a therapist or a coach or this, that, whatever, because nothing really changes. Like, you know you just but this is with age as well. So, but I don't know the last time we spoke. I know I've sent you a few pictures here and there to tickle you, which you don't reply to because I think it annoys you. Um, but I can't remember the last time we spoke. A year ago, maybe. And
yeah, maybe. I think you did send a few tweets, but I don't remember any photographs.
well, yeah, of there might be a photo of a Muslim man
Oh,
with
oh,
a
oh, you mean memes,
yeah,
satirical memes.
yeah.
Um, I actually don't remember them, but I think that there have been um, some comments that show that you don't quite like Muslims, but that's okay. I'm used to it.
Well,
Not that I am one,
no, no.
which people
It's
seem to forget a lot.
Well, yeah. I mean, but I'm trying to. Okay, I am not as involved or interested or as wrapped up in like the political world, I think, as I was, similar to Stephen James, actually, um, where I'm actually more content and keen on like enhancing my own stuff and putting myself in a better position, as opposed to getting annoyed at the political world and the social world and using the internet to back up my anger and things like that, and then finding people online who also agree with me, and then we can be angry together. It's a pit of hell to go down that route. I don't think you do that. I'll give you credit where it's due. Um, but it's a dark world, that stuff. But I do keep an eye on what's going on in
Hmm.
terms of in America with Trump, and in this country, though it is quite depressing and like not scary, but it's frightening to see the extent of how horrible, and horrible is the right word, politics are at this moment in the country, you know, it's like I used to say to you, it's like being at school and the teacher comes in drunk, and you have to listen to the drunken teacher, and that's what I feel like with, um, to be honest,
Listening
this
to
current.
Trump.
Well, I don't so much mind Trump. I think Trump's got in the right direction. I honestly do. I think his nationalism stance is pretty good, um, and I think that's a fundamental. You're either you're either a nationalist in a sense, or you're not. And if you're not, you're into all kinds of other stuff. And you know, but I think Trump is he's good. He's good with the fundamentals of what he does.
There's a
Um,
lot of disappointed Trump supporters, though, because they
mhm,
thought he was going to stop his endless wars, and there now seems to be two definitions of MAGA: the Marjorie Taylor Greene definition,
mhm.
and she's basically said, "I thought you were going to end the endless wars, and now you're starting a few of your own." It would seem
Well,
so.
he's gone into Venezuela and like are looking to, but saying that, if I don't know if he's doing it to get control of the country or the oil or the finances.
Yeah, of course he wants the oil. He basically wants an America that goes from the North Pole to the South Pole. That's why he
Mm,
wants Canada. That's why he wants Greenland, and he's just going to get it from the Europeans, right? Because Europeans haven't got, the army or anything to fight back. They have to, like it or lump it, and they haven't really got a choice.
all right, I didn't know he was that far down the line, like in terms of doing that. Is he selling it as a drug thing? Is he doing it to stop the drugs? That's why he's invading Venezuela or something.
Okay. I think what he wants is an American empire instead of globally. He wants it to be from the North Pole to the South Pole, and that's why after America is Canada, after Canada is Greenland. So it actually goes from the North Pole to the South Pole, and obviously Venezuela has oil, and the Americans
Mhm.
are traditionally treated South America as their own backyard since they kicked out the Spanish from South America after the Spanish American War, and after the Spanish lost the war against the Americans over Cuba, and which is fought in other parts of in
Mhm.
Mexico and everything. They gave the Philippines to the Americans.
Ah, oh, right. Well, I didn't.
Sold it for a song, I should say.
Yeah, but the thing is though, like Trump's going to be out of office in 2 years or so. So, like, what's the point?
Well, I think the point is that we should understand that American presidents don't really control American foreign policy.
Mhm, mhm.
So, whatever they say when they campaign, like, Obama said, he didn't, he wanted to end the war in Afghanistan, and he was elected because of that. But the moment he became president, he sent more troops to Afghanistan. So
Yeah,
there's something that happens to the minds of American presidents. Maybe they're bribed, maybe they're threatened,
yeah,
and maybe they're told, like, well, who do you think you are? You're just a figurehead. We will allow you to do a few things on your own, but don't even think of changing American foreign policy in
mhm, mhm,
Israel, in anywhere, in fact. You
mm.
don't make the decisions, and by the time you go, we'll still be here. So better shut up. Or what happened to JFK, don't you? I imagine, a lot of presidents who think they're going to be presidents and do stuff will find their hands tied.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. How involved are you with British politics at the moment? Do you keep an eye out on it?
Well, I don't really even listen to the news. I mean, I might kind of get a few bits here and there, because I don't think there's any point, because the leaders of Europeans are basically taking orders from Washington. So they've all decided that they want to continue the war in Ukraine, right? Apart from Viktor Orban,
Yeah, that's true.
nobody is allowed to say anything else. But they can't
Yeah.
win war in Ukraine because they're really outnumbered in that class by the Russians, and they're trying to disguise from us the extent of the failure. But I guess the most stupid Europeans of all were the Ukrainians who basically allowed their country to be destroyed. All
Yeah.
those men killed, and all those Ukrainian women no longer living in Ukraine. And they're living in Western Europe or America or Australia. So they literally have lost their country, and it is a kind of genocide, but self-induced, I suppose. Nobody told them to want to join NATO. Nobody told them to test the patience of the Russians. And all the Russians were saying, look, over the years, we have this thing called the Eastern Bloc,
Yeah.
and it narrowed down to the Warsaw Pact, and now they've all turned NATO, and we would just like Ukraine not to be NATO. Is that all right with you guys? And now Ukraine is treated as if it were already a member of NATO.
Yeah. What do you think will happen with it all?
Well, I think the plan is to keep throwing the dead bodies of Ukrainian men at the Russians in the hope of weakening them, but draining the coffers of the European countries who are borrowing to buy arms from America.
Yeah.
I mean that's why inflation's so high. I mean Ukraine was a big breadbasket of Europe. Once upon a time. I don't know how the agriculture is going now, and I mean the trouble is we don't really have prime ministers or presidents who care about the national interest of the European countries. It's only Viktor Orban who said, well, things used to be better when we were friendlier with Russia, and doesn't don't European countries need cheap energy from Russia in order to maintain their industrial base? Because otherwise we will become the third world with no manufacturing in Europe.
That's happening. I mean that's coming. I think it's a slow decline. The decline's speeding up, I think, but it is definitely happening, and people are going to be working until they're old, very old, and less money,
and then told to commit suicide before they claim their pension.
Probably help. Yeah, I mean
that's why all the the assisted euthanasia, etc., is already in place.
That's interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. That it'll benefit the government if people die before they sign on for the pensions. I didn't think of that.
No, it's completely evil, and people are being deliberately blind about it. But in a way, it's a kind of test of intelligence. Do you really want to believe everything the BBC tells you when it's been lying to you for so long? I guess the young people who still think life is okay and don't want to marry and don't want to have children, I guess they'll feel okay for a bit.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. So do you still think that the root of all of this is Christianity? The root of the
yes,
problem?
because I was saying to Vincent yesterday, but just because of the bifurcation in American politics about what MAGA stands for, and basically Marjorie Taylor Greene was saying, I thought you meant, President Trump, that you're going to end the endless wars, and Trump was saying, well, MAGA is what I want it to mean. And if I mean make America great again with more endless wars, I have control, of the branding of MAGA. Right, and so it's completely unprincipled. It's just that because he's president, he controls what MAGA means, and so it was with Christianity. Whoever is in control of whichever church will say that Christianity means whatever the Pope said, whatever the Archbishop of Canterbury said.
Yeah.
It's sort of like David Cameron saying conservatism means gay marriage. Like it's like, well, where did that come from?
Yeah. What?
And that's why I keep going back to, the Torah and the Quran, because whatever you think of these Jews and these Muslims, they have a book, and they have a book that says things clearly, like don't do this, and
Mhm,
don't,
mhm.
and do that. you
Yeah.
know so at least, even if they want to get away from it, I mean, the Jews do a lot of that. It's like, oh yes, it does say stone Sabbath breakers to death, but um we don't do it anymore, and we hardly did it anyway when we were supposed to do it,
Mhm.
and all this rubbish basically. But it's like, well, it says that. It says stone adult Sabbath breakers to death, and
Yeah.
some people will think that even if you were caught bang to rights and you were guilty of breaking the Sabbath, you still don't deserve to be, stoned to death. So how are you going
Mhm.
to reconcile that? But
Mm.
I think, obviously Christianity owes its existence to Judaism, and even if, a lot of Christians hate Jews for killing Christ and all that kind of thing, I mean, the point is that there would be no Christianity without, without the Torah,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
Muslims have to acknowledge that without, Judaism and Christianity, there would be no Islam. So, you know, they
Mm.
they can't. I mean, I just look at it like kind of like horse and carriage, up from Judaism, and Christianity
Mhm, mhm.
was, well, I don't know, some kind of vehicle, um, some
Right.
diesel vehicle, um, and Islam as the most advanced, 4x4, something like that, anyway.
Did you use Islam and the word advanced in the same sentence then?
Well, yes, because it basically, if you read it properly, you'll see that all the people who might, try and pretend that they're a member of the group. Because what happens is, you have a group, you have a club, and they're the people who do all the work and, believe in the whole thing, and they're people who just, there for the benefit, right?
Mhm, mhm.
The membership privileges without any of the responsibilities and the duties of that group.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
a lot of people are basically pretending to believe, but just thinking, if I pretend to be uh, to pretend to believe what Jews are supposed to believe, or what Christians or what Muslims are supposed to believe, I will get the group benefits. I will get the dignity of, claiming I'm one of those powerful religious groups, and at least I won't be right there at the bottom, of people who don't like us. The
Yeah.
anti-Semites, the Islamophobes. These are very, very low status beliefs. But the kind of religion, really, it's like, I want to blame Jews, therefore my religion is anti-Semitism. I don't like Muslims, so I will, blame them for everything. And
Mhm,
it depends on who you want to blame, I guess. But
mhm.
the blame game hasn't helped anyone.
Mm. So how is your quest to implement secular Quranism coming on?
Well, I know
Are
that
you are
there's no.
you are you taking it slowly?
Well, I think so, because I basically worked out that, if all the orders are coming from Washington, then Americans are the people to talk to, not Europeans who are, helpless as women, really. They just follow orders from Washington, Starmer, Kaya Kallas, all the other, European leaders, so called. They
Mhm,
just take orders from Washington, and they're allowed to kind of pretend that they govern a country for a while before being kicked out. Um,
mhm.
so the people to talk to are the Americans, and I'm sure the Americans are very dismayed, because they thought they were voting for, the end of endless wars. So
Yeah.
and they're not getting it.
No.
Right? It must be quite a shock. It's like we've done all we could to vote for the one we wanted, and he's lied to us. He's lied to us. And actually, foreign policy will affect you domestically, as the British found when, at the end of World War II. You
Mhm,
know, it,
mhm.
it does affect, I don't know, rationing and food prices and, you know, things you can and can't do because your country's at war, you know. So I mean, I know a lot of people don't really care about foreign policy. It's always about countries they would never visit and their history, and
Mhm.
they don't even know their own history. So, they can't be expected to care about whether Ukraine was actually under Russia, a century ago,
Mhm.
uh, and ask questions like that. Because if you go to Ukraine, I mean, or you speak to any Ukrainians, they speak Russian. The
Yeah.
problem.
Hello.
Considered the backyard of the British. Ireland
Mhm.
would be considered a backyard of the British.
Yeah.
So,
I think so. Have you got anybody on board yet with your movement?
well, all I can say is more and more people are aware of it. So I've been
That's yeah.
talking to these middle class American Christians in the Paul Vander Clay community.
All right. Good. You might learn something.
Well, I guess the sort of they've gotten to know. I think they're sort of used to me now, and they don't, look upon me with such, horror.
Yeah.
Um, because after a while, it's like you watch a horror movie, you see the same horrible scene again, and then you kind of develop a tolerance for it, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
so horrible anymore. It's like, oh, I know what she's going to say. It's boring now. I'm no longer shocked. That kind of idea.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
What? Go on. Go on.
no, 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 you carry on. I'm talking too much. It's your show.
No, it's. I'm just interested as to where you're at with stuff. What do you think of the Conservative leader Kenny Badenoch?
Oh, I don't even listen to her. I feel
Yeah.
sorry for white men who literally do not have a leader, do they? Their leader is basically a Nigerian woman.
Hmm.
And it's just a Punch and Judy show.
Yeah. It's
They
very, yeah.
pretend to care about you. They pretend they're trying to do something about immigration, but
Hmm.
really you have to let them in.
Hmm. No, it is
I mean,
strange. What?
like they do in America. I mean, the Americans are also complaining about their migrant hotels. So, we're not the only ones. And so are the Australians. And okay, the most sinister turn out of the whole thing is that they're inviting the rest of the world to come to the West, knowing that Western men are least likely to join the army to fight these imperial wars. But if they invited everyone else from from the third world to come into the West, everyone in the West, and you say, if you fight in this war, we'll give you citizenship.
Mhm.
How about it? Because we know the locals won't fight.
But who are they going to fight? Like this is what Starmer was saying the other day about British security against who? Like who is going to invade Britain, or who is going to who are we going to be at war with?
Yeah, I mean, this crazy hatred against the Russians, it goes back a long way. It goes back to, I guess, the Crimean War,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
This hatred of the Russians. And,
Hmm.
and, and to be fair to the Russians, they've got such a vast empire that they're not even interested in acquiring more land. I mean, it's the same like as China. It's like we've got enough territory, we've got our hands full trying to, keep everything together. We don't want any more territory. But it's the marine empires that want to control strategic points like you know
Hmm.
Singapore and Subic Bay and the Panama Canal and Israel, which is interesting for it, facing the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea and being
Yeah.
close to the Suez Canal and
Uh-huh.
and of course the oil supply and international shipping. I mean, that's why America is, wants to remain in Israel, but it can't. It's sort of like it's really a warlord country, right? It's like we've got nukes, we've got the biggest navy and the army in the world. Nobody can best us at anything, but we have to pretend to care about the Jews and say we're going to protect the helpless Jews in Israel when we're the ones who put them there to fight the Arabs and try out our latest weaponry.
Mm.
Jews don't even know that. They just think, oh, we're being sent to Israel. It's a country holy to us. But it's
Yeah.
like, well, it's obviously not holy if it's got gay parades in Tel Aviv. And if God exists, he won't be happy with that, will he?
Yeah. Mm. No, that's a good point. What do you see happening over the next 10 years in for example, the Russia, the Ukraine, the Palestine situation, Trump, the whole lot? What do you think's where do you think we're going?
Well,
And religion as well. Will religion play less of a role?
it will play more of a role. Just because,
Wow.
look, if you ever go to Speaker's Corner, and we've been, years ago, the
Yeah.
thing is, people just go there. Why would you give up your Sunday to argue with strangers?
Yeah. Mm.
And it's like it's obviously on your mind. You're thinking of Islam, or you're thinking of spreading it, or you're thinking of stopping it, and that's why the discourse at Speaker's Corner is about is between Christians and Muslims when
Yeah.
before it was between capitalists and communists.
Hmm.
Was old enough to remember that, right? And now, so it's organic. It's like people have Christian religion on their mind. That's why they go to Speaker's Corner to argue with strangers about it.
Hmm.
And sadly, the BBC is not reflecting these concerns. It's telling us, well, I don't know what it's telling us. I don't even watch news anymore. But
No.
it's telling us some kind of lie.
Do you still listen to Radio 4?
No, I can't even bring myself to do it
No.
anymore
No.
because it's just so annoying being lied to. Sometimes I force myself. It's like, why do they want us to believe this lie or that lie?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's wearing on the spirit,
It is.
isn't it, to be lied to the whole time?
I'm glad you said that. I mean, I've always said that, but it's wearing on the spirit, and I think that's where Stephen James has got to as well, to the point where it's just not so much a waste of time. You could probably be doing better things with your time, but it doesn't go anywhere, and you do end up like insane and with anger and madness, and because there's been lied to is one thing, but the other thing is that like it and they know it and other people know it, but it still continues. Like there's no end to it.
Well, I mean, the only thing you can constructively do is to keep pointing it out, right?
Yeah.
So, Nick Fuentes, basically he didn't back down. I mean, I listened to part of the interview with Tucker Carlson, and he was saying he didn't start off as an anti-Semite. He just asked, what he thought were legitimate questions about support for Israel, and because he was accused of being an anti-Semite just for asking these questions, he became one. He eventually you think, so what? So if that's what I am, so what? Kind of thing. And he didn't back down, and now he's famous. And even the people who used to say, who's Nick Fuentes? I never heard of him. I don't know anybody who's heard of him, which is kind of a snobby American attitude to take. Like, we don't know people like that, people who would talk or have even heard of Nick Fuentes, kind of thing. Until Tucker Carlson, gave him this two-hour interview.
2-hour interview, wasn't it? So, are you in touch with any people like Conops or OV or people or Brundlefly, or do they pop up now and then? Are you doing Koraniyule with them?
I'm not planning to talk to Brundlefly or I mean, OV seems to have dropped out. Elliot has asked me if he's heard from him, but nobody seems to have heard of him.
Wow. Hmm.
Yeah, and it was a little bit concerned just because of his excessive drinking. So we don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it was excessive in, was it Minnesota?
Idaho, I think.
Somewhere like that. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's quite difficult to see where the whole thing is going. You know, I've been looking after my parents for quite a while. Like when I say looking after, sort of going every day or every other day, and that's that changes you. It just sort of wears you down. Um, and
I'm sure.
I think that's like um, maybe a reason why I'm not too um, interested in other things or things like that. It's not exactly fun, and it's not terrible. It just is. It's like being a parent again. You
Well,
know.
I mean, this is one of the problems of, it's sort of, of course you're going to think, well, if only I had more help. I'm sure that's what you think, right?
It's not at that point yet, but it will be.
Yeah, and and I suppose that was the purpose of these generation households,
Yeah.
where
Mhm.
so it wouldn't just be you having to visit; you'd already be there with the missus and the children,
Yeah.
or pick,
Well,
helping.
they do that in Barbados. They tend to have like a family home, which isn't big, and everybody lives in the home, and the the grandmas tend to be quite dominant in the household with what goes on and stuff. Um, but it seems to work. It seems to work a bit better than what we do.
Well, yes, because people do need help after a while, and they can't cope, and then and then yeah, it's difficult. So that I guess is the reason why traditionally we were told to have many children.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, but I mean, I guess Westerners are not the only one who made this terrible mistake, because the Chinese, with their one-child policy,
Hmm.
um, actually, they can actually blame it on Mao, right? So
Absolutely.
you told us to do that. You told us to do that. I mean, now
Hmm.
now they've revised their policy and said now we have a three-child policy, but nobody's interested in having three. They don't even want to get married now. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many people single. Um, a
Yeah,
lot
and
of
it's
my,
not just in
yeah.
the West.
No. No.
So really, we kind of discover what religion is all about. It's there to frighten people into getting married, and if they're not married, by a certain age, you could go, "Are you gay? Is there something
Mm,
wrong with you? What's
yeah.
going to happen to you when you grow to grow old?" And no, 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 no. That's how they used to do it, to nag and frighten people into getting married.
Yeah. No. I think Christianity, it is, some of it's based on fear, and people have to do the
Of
right
course
thing.
it is. It's
Yeah,
all based on fear. I mean,
yeah.
and you need to sort of conjure up a god to frighten everyone. It's like, yeah, and once you marry, you have to stick with your choice, even that however annoying and irritating and boring they are. And you have to stick with it for the sake of the children, or they'll go crazy and you
Mm,
know, and then your civilization will crash and burn. And it's like, yeah, you better.
mm.
Have I told you the story of a Chinese ancestor worship?
No, no, no. Tell me, please.
Okay, so it's the Chinese way. They don't do it now, but, because of their one-child policy. But it was, um, how does it go? Um, After you are dead, you have two status. You are either a worshipped ancestor,
Hmm.
or you are a hungry ghost. So
Mm,
this is how you're supposed to think of, what's going to happen to you when you're dead, and so it's saying your status could lower after you are dead. Well, I know, European state, if you get to heaven, you stay there forever, and if you go to hell, you stay there forever. But they're saying you can either be a worshipped ancestor or a hungry ghost. Obviously, you don't want to be a hungry ghost because it doesn't sound very nice, and you'll be just one of the evil spirits playing tricks on, the living. So you don't want that and people running away from you. You want to be a worshipped ancestor, and the only way you can be a worshipped ancestor is if you have male descendants to sweep your tomb in the spring every year, and and to perform the tomb sweeping rituals, and they have to be a male descendant. So that's it. So that was enough to frighten the Chinese into having an heir and a spare.
Yeah. Because the government have lifted that 2-cap child policy as well, which means that people can have as many children as they want. But it's not just be English people doing that, obviously. I think it'll give a lot of the minorities license just to breed more, to be honest. Because they don't need money. They don't need a lot of money. So,
well, you see, the welfare state, that I think is one of the things that people don't like me saying. You shouldn't have the welfare state, because what's going to happen with the welfare state is people will claim, and eventually the unproductive elements of society will be greater than the productive elements of society, and everybody will think, well, I'm not going to be working, to support, those claimants, and eventually, the economy will just slow down. So what you really need to have is, you'll need to have slavery, because slavery is sort of, it's a kind of social tool where it's like, okay, you don't want to starve on the streets, do you? You can't afford, food in your belly and a roof over your head. But if you could still work in some way, somebody will be prepared to feed you and accommodate you.
Yeah.
So at least, you'll not be starving in the streets and be performing useful work if you sell yourself into slavery, right? So somebody will, and then maybe one day you will, save up enough. I mean, obviously you should have the right to manumission, and then, buy yourself out of slavery. I mean, that's the only thing. But if you pay people to sit at home and not do anything, you're just,
if you
making
pay people,
a rod for yourself.
If you pay people to sit at home, they will.
Yeah.
Like, it's as simple as that, and that's human nature. So,
Yeah. I mean, and the pity of it is actually, the Bible and the Quran, they tell you not to do so many things. You can't do, can't eat pork, can't gamble, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but neither the Bible nor the Quran forbade slavery. It's like,
Is that at the time that they were written, though? Like,
no. Well, I mean, if you really believe in the whole story, like, God actually, made those laws and gave it first to the Jews and then gave the Quran to Muslims, we have to assume he knew what he was doing. And it said, and I guess he's saying, I never told you to abolish slavery. I told you not to do a lot of things, but slavery wasn't one of them. It's your fault for getting it into your head to ban it for your, own political reasons.
But I mean, they could introduce something like that soon, but they won't call it slavery, obviously.
Well, it's not even completely illegal in America, right? Because in America, prisons have to work. It is slave labor.
Yeah.
Which is why Kamala Harris was so unpopular, because she basically, wanted to jail everybody so they could go to prison and work for Serco.
That's right. Yeah. Oh God, she was terrible, isn't she?
It would be even worse if she were in charge, because she'd be even more annoying than Trump, even though he's very disappointing. But I mean, what I'm trying to say to Americans is like, please read George Washington's farewell speech because he actually foresaw all that has happened now, and
Yeah,
he basically said, don't form political parties; it'll be the end of you. And I keep telling these Americans, and they say, no, we don't care. It's done now, and we're not going to change, and we like our elections, and
yeah. What do you
so.
think? Just quickly, because I'm going to have to shoot off at 5 o'clock, Claire. Sorry about that, but what do you think will happen when Trump goes?
Well, JD Vance will take over. Or
Hmm.
well, some people would be saying, well, maybe Tucker Carlson, and somebody even said maybe Zoran Mamdani, even though he wasn't born in the States, but they might change the rules then. Who knows?
That's the New York guy, isn't he?
Yeah, the Muslim, mayor of New York.
Oh dear, yeah. Um, I can't see that happening though. The
Well,
Muslim
the thing is,
becoming.
he's quite popular because he well, he's also a good-looking guy, and if you watch the body language between Trump and Mamdani, it
Yeah,
seems to be quite good. They like each other. You know,
yeah. I think Trump's very good at getting on with who he needs to get on with.
yeah.
That is a skill and how just finally, how is Vincent getting on? Are you still talking with him every day or most
Yeah,
days?
he was just on. I spoke to him twice.
Oh,
He's
great.
already been on Koraniyule, but his latest thing is, try new wrong ways to try. Because I'm saying, look, Vincent, you would be ideal as the first secular Quranist American,
Yeah,
he's ideal because he's gay, and it's like he's not some scary Muslim with a long
yeah.
beard and swivel eyes and whatever.
Mhm,
And,
mhm.
if he did it and committed to it, he would get a lot of attention and publicity because everybody was thinking that's so crazy. He's gay, and
Yeah.
being thrown off tall buildings, and they would all flock to him. But I think he's just resisting because it's not his idea. But maybe you can, help me, push him into being the first gay American secular Quranist, and then we can all be famous, right? We can say, "Oh, we knew Vincent, and he's the
Well,
father of American secular Quranism." You know how you it's all about wanting to be a father of something.
it'll have to come from him though. You can't really talk him into something like that deep
Well,
to.
he was talking yesterday. It's like, about the no height laws, and he did all the research, and everybody kind of took it off him and used his
Mhm.
material. And he talked about, being the father of anti no height laws and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So obviously, he wants a kind of legacy. And I think, people should uh, try and encourage him. Because, I think, look, if America adopts my kind of interpretation, it'll come it'll come to Europe and the rest of the world. Of course it will. Because
mhm.
America, whatever you think of it, is still the most powerful, country in the whole world. And if they decide to change their minds about something, it will be, obviously noted and remembered and even followed.
Well, Rupert Lowe, the reform guy, he did pass a comment on uh, Sharia law, and didn't he last week? He said that he was praising some aspects of it.
Was he? Oh, I
Mm.
must look that up.
Yeah, I'll try and look it up quickly now for you.
Thank you. Hmm.
Rupert Lowe. I'll just type Rupert Lowe Sharia.
Are you okay, Jay?
Yeah, I'm. As I
Health
said, I'm.
wise?
Oh, health are really good. I had a really bad experience on Wednesday though. A real. I went to a lake swimming, and it was only 4.1 degrees, and I did stay in. Uh, I was in for
What, too
28.
long?
Yeah, I was in for 28 minutes and suffered really bad hypothermia. Like, not just being cold, I can handle that, but this was like mentally my brain. Like it started to shut down, and it was frightening. Um, I've yeah, I've never felt that ill before. Like it was awful. It was really like uh, you feel like you're dying, and you are.
Yes, if you stay a bit longer. Was
Yeah.
there anyone with you?
Oh God, yeah. Well, we had a kayaker, and the plan was to do 1,000 meters, a kilometer. Um, it's ice swimming basically, and after 980 meters, I quit.
Well, you
I
were in
knew,
a wetsuit, weren't you?
no,
Not even in a wetsuit. You
no,
must be mad.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I think you're right, but I got out with 20 meters to go, and I had to
Mm.
be helped back to the hut type thing, but I wasn't in any danger in the water. Um, and I swam the last 200 meters in like 4 foot water, like
Mm.
near the shore. But I'm glad I got out. And yeah, I've got a video of me in the changing hut. I'll send you it. And this is 20 minutes after I got out, and I look like I've got Parkinson's. I'm shaking that much.
Yes, I can imagine your teeth chattering.
Yeah. But no, apart from that, really good. I've
Hmm.
looked after myself a lot. I think I've seen my dad's health go down really quick. That's kind of made me think. Well, you kind of stop the aging process, but it doesn't have to be awful. You know, it's a case of how bad or how good, not good, but how bad do you want it? And I think like so I'm going to the gym most days, but just doing lots of stretching. I'm doing quite a bit of walking, lots of swimming.
Hmm.
I should be out, yeah, and eating well. I've lost weight, which is good. I got a bit heavy over the last 2 or 3 years, um,
Hmm.
and that's yeah. So I'm doing really good. But as I say, like the stuff with the parents is just quite draining, and you kind of want it to be over, if you know what I mean. And
Mm.
you think thoughts that you're not supposed to think, but you think, well, I do think those thoughts. So I do think that's because it isn't going to get any better. It's just
No.
getting worse, and it's
Have you
okay.
got, all the, home visits and whatnot that you could be arranging?
Well, at the moment, the hanging on, and we've got like family, two or three of us. But we've also got a really wonderful lady who is a family friend, but she is in charge of all the medication and the cleaning and stuff, and we pay her. Um, and she's really good. But every week I can see the deterioration every time I go, to be honest. And um, so, yeah, it's just uh, you know,
Mm.
like
But well, it's good that you're there, right, and you're doing the right thing.
I am. You see, this is principle over want because it's the right thing to do. And it doesn't mean to say I have to like it. It doesn't mean to say I have to want to do it. It's not relevant. It's I do it because I do it. So
Yeah.
I'm being driven by principle as opposed to because believe me, I've got a million and one better things to do, but I couldn't do them other things if I wasn't doing what's right in terms of what I know to be right. You know,
Well, exactly, and it's not impossible that you could be, doing those things that you'd rather do, a bit later.
well, timing's good. Timing is good because sometimes it's not the right time to go at things, and going at sometimes I've learned that going at things faster and harder doesn't make it work. Sometimes you can just take a backseat for a month and go again steadily, and you might have a bit more success. If you're going to try anything, you've got to do it from a good, calm position. You can't come at it like angry and mental and crazy because
Hmm.
you'll attract mental and crazy outcomes. So,
Yes.
I mean, and the other thing, Claire, it could be keeping me out of trouble, like doing this sort of
Yeah, yeah.
humble work. I mean,
Yes.
who knows where it'd be, but that. Listen, I've got a five. Well, I'm supposed to be off at 5 o'clock, Claire, but
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm not exactly at my best, and I'm not exactly as I was a year ago, but such is life at the moment. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask you questions, which I found interesting, and explain where I am as well with bits of stuff.
Yes. Well, do come back again.
I will, and I'll listen out for more guests that you've got on. And it would be nice to have some of the old people on, says me. Just got
Yeah. I've got a good combination of
oh,
old and new, so
great.
hopefully you will be entertained over the season.
All right then, Claire. Thank you very much.
All right. Take
Have a good
care.
evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.